Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Has
Morning.
everybody logged on to Lightspeed yet?
Yep.
You guys need to log.
Yes, I have.
Have been restored, and now I can live a life to the fullest.
People on Fetch. You can do, and there's a training on Lightspeed for Fetch, and it tells you how you can do some geo farming. And he goes through it, and it's good. It's a good little training. But there are so many trainings on there on Lightspeed. Anything you want to learn about, it's on there. So I was looking for my login for Fetch, which is associated with Agenta Title. So Agenta Title is going to be our title company. We're going to have a title company. And that will be our title company. We're just waiting for the licensing to get cleared through California. But Fetch is through Agenta. So I was looking like, oh, what's my login for Fetch? Well, I go on Lightspeed, lo and behold, it says Fetch, login and sign up. And there it is. So I would say everybody should go on there and at least look around at Lightspeed because there's lots of good things on there. And it's going to be the hub of everything because Google is going away, right, Jackie?
Really?
Yeah,
It's
our Google
going
Drive.
to.
Our Google Drive is going away. Yeah. No.
The core of everything will be on Lightspeed itself. So like pulling the logos, pulling any information, like all trainings and videos will be there. And so they will be plugging in our videos from downtown as well into Lightspeed.
Our video, like our training videos?
Mhm.
Yep.
So like the video that we had where we did have a comp of property, that will be in there so all of our agents can have access to it. So if there's an agent in our office that's struggling and wants to reference back to trainings that we've done, we can share it with them too right there.
Right. If you run a team, you will be able to have access to your team members on Lightspeed. So you can go in and see what videos you can assign to them. Like, hey, you guys need to look at this, watch this, this, and this, and you can see if they've done it.
Lightspeed is the one that has the grades for us, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the one that,
Ranking or something.
yeah, if you want to play that game, but just the information is more important than the grade.
But if you try to get a good grade, though, you're going to get a lot of information.
Not really.
Oh.
Because you can just play it and not listen to it.
Oh.
So, okay. All right. So what else, Jackie? Oh, group photo tomorrow. It's not fancy, but black and white. And even, so what if they wear jeans, Jackie, and a black shirt?
No. Please don't.
Don't.
Black jeans if that.
If you could wear black jeans or black slacks and a black shirt, that would be great. It does not have to be fancy. It does not, we don't need suits, we don't need ties, we don't need anything like that. If you want to, that's great, but you don't have to because it's going to be a little warm.
In the event some of those wear blue jeans,
We'll put them
you
in the
will
back.
be in the back, behind the rail, ideally hidden from where we don't see your jeans anyways.
Yeah, yeah. So, and then get here on time because we've got the photographer who's coming to take the picture. I've also got the videographer who's coming to take content for us and for social media. So we will start before 6 getting ourselves situated because it's hard to get 50 or 60 people situated on those stairs. So, but we're going to do that. So, and then we're going to have pizza and just some drinks out.
And that's here.
It's here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the time again?
6.
Yeah.
6. Anything else, Jackie, you can think of?
We will be doing another one in the fall too, so that way for those that are unable to make it, pay attention to your text messages. I had people text me saying, wish I would have known. The reality is we've been sending text messages. It's been on our weekly calendars. Read the messages, please.
Yeah. You guys
Check in the
need
know.
to read, go on to Downtown in the Know daily, and when we send you something in Haymarket, I keep posting the graphic for the pictures in Downtown in the Know. We've been doing it for over a month, and they say they wish they knew, but apparently they weren't watching. So there's not much else we can do besides that. There's just not really much. So anything else, Jackie, that we need to before we get into the training?
I will be sending out a compliance reminder, an email, kind of going over, reminder of the procedures, so that way TCs know, as well as agents, getting them turned in on time, because,
Because getting paid the same day is a privilege, it's not mandatory. If your stuff is in, you're gonna get paid the same day. But Jackie can't kill herself to get everything, when you give us, request a CDA the same day, it's not happening anymore, we're too busy. So, and there's other steps, it's not just Jackie anymore, so Jackie asked for 5 days.
5 business days.
5 business days, so try and be mindful of that. And if your TC is not doing that, then have a talk with your TC, and if that doesn't work, maybe you need a new TC. Because they're holding up your check by doing that. And I know you guys wait for 30, 60, 90 days, a listing could be longer, and you wanna have your check, but you know, we have to go through the compliance. Okay. Okay. Oh, drawings, sorry guys, I was gonna go right into the training. I'm so excited about the training today. Let's see who the winner is. It's Mike Willis.
Who is Mike Willis on? I don't know if he's been participants. Or Mike, no, Mike Willis.
I don't think so.
I forget who Zillow user is, I wanna say that's Sharice.
If you'll say your name within 2 seconds.
Yeah, are you on there, Mike? I don't think
There's a
so.
chat, somebody chatted.
Going once, going twice.
What's the chat say?
Oh, that was Maribel. That was, oh, there is.
I'll be late for my grandson's graduation.
Okay, well, if it's after 6, Tracy, you're probably gonna miss the picture.
But still come for mingling.
You can come for mingling, but it's, I mean, by 6:15, we'll be done
With photo.
with photos,
Because there are people that will be popping in to make it for the photo and out the door.
Yep, yeah, not
That's
everybody's gonna stay for the mingling, and I guess there'll be some people who come from the mingling, but not the picture. Mooney office is up and running, and we have internet, we have a keypad now on the back door, and the code is 7476. When you guys use Mooney, there are 3 air conditioning units, there are 3 thermostats. So we're not leaving them all running all the time because not everybody's gonna be in the training room. But if you wanna use the training room, it's outside the door. If you're in the flex space, which is the drop-down space, it is on that wall. It's in that room, and the back offices are on the back corner, like the northwest corner of the building. Please remember to turn them off when you leave. That's the only thing. If somebody can turn those off, that would be great, because we are, you know, there's 3 running over there, and it's, you know, bill starts adding up. But 7476, no alarm over there. Go and use it. The printer's there, the internet's there. We've had a lot of people. JJ's there all the time. Billy's been there.
Yep.
I've been there. Jackie's been there. There's a lot of activity over there.
And always keep in mind, eyeing the door, sometimes you got, after you click the lock button, check that it lock. Cause if,
Yeah.
if you either pushed on it too hard or it was too loose forward, it might not pick up the locking part.
Yep. And if you're the last one to leave, check all the doors, because JJ's door was open the other day when I left. I was the only one there, and then the training room door was open. So if you don't mind, just go through, do a quick check, and make sure the 3 back doors are all locked.
That's in any office. When you leave, check doors, check lights.
Yeah,
If you're the last one.
if you're the last one. Or unless you want to lock all the other agents in. You can do that, Chris. So today we're going to talk about, I called it Beyond the Zestimate, but really I want to talk about comping properties and the way that properties in our market today, because I think it's so important to understand how to value properties based on what kind of a market we're in. Because 2 years ago, I just pulled comps for the last 6 months, pulled the comps, that's the value. Adjusted, there's your value. I'm not doing it like that anymore. I am pulling comps to get a starting place. I'm trying to pull comps more recent than 6 months. I'm trying because of the way the market is, but I'm also looking at actives because you've really got to look at what your competition is right now. You can't just go off of comps. You got to see what's sitting, what's selling, and do some bracketing with your values. And so I called it Beyond the Zestimate, but really that's not it. But has anybody ever gone and had a seller, because they look at it, they look at their value on Zillow. Have you ever had to justify your value as opposed to the Zestimate that they're getting?
A lot.
A lot, right? Because they pull that up and then they say, well, on Zillow it says my property's worth blah, blah, blah.
Or my neighbor got this, or my
Right.
brother-in-law says that I should be able to get this.
Right.
It's not founded in anything.
Right, it's not founded in anything. So the only way that you can battle that is, and handle those objections, is with data. That is the only way to do it. You absolutely cannot just, if you show up and they have they've got the Zestimate and you are not properly set up at a listing appointment to prove to them why, you're gonna have a problem. It's gonna be a losing battle. You know that, right, Chris? I mean,
Yeah, it's a super easy thing to overcome though.
it's very easy to overcome if you have the data and if you are prepared. If you go in and you're not prepared, I do not use, what's that called that's on MLS?
RPR.
RPR. I do not use RPR. It's exactly like Zillow. It's exactly like Realtor.com. I don't use it. I don't use any of those things. I pull my own comps every single time. RPR is just, it'll get, I mean, you could, I don't even like to use it. I don't even like to pull it up. I don't look at his estimate because then I start aiming towards that. I don't want to see that. I want to go in blindly. I don't want to ask the seller what they think the value is. I may at the end, but I don't want to ask them before I pull my comps because then again, I'm aiming towards that. And that's not what we want to do. So,
Can I just say, I've been doing comps a long time, but when I run into trouble is when it's not the cookie cutter, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,700 square
Yep.
foot. It's a weird spring bill, or it's a, you know what I mean? It's,
Yep.
so that's where it takes some expertise. And whenever I call you, I'm always glad that I did,
yeah.
because
Because you have to start dissecting it at that point. The ones over in Meadow Breeze are easy, right? I had that one on Cheryl. There was one listed, exactly the same floor plan. There was another one that had just sold. Super easy. You just look at it. I look at the pictures. Okay, this one, oh, mine has tops. This one had granite. But the second layer of that is knowing how appraisers adjust. And that is one of the biggest. You've got to understand how appraisers adjust, because a seller, and when you meet with a seller, you want to tell them, I adjust like an appraiser. That's what I tell them. I adjust like an appraiser, because they will tell you, oh, I put this granite in and it cost me $10,000, and they think they're going to get $10,000 value, and they're not. An appraiser might walk in and give them a certain percentage for condition, but they're not going to nickel and dime. They're not going to break it apart and cannibalize it and go, oh, and this is the thing. Well, I have a new roof. Right, you do have a good roof, and that's an expectation of a house. If you don't have a good roof, that is a subtraction. It's not an addition, unless you're comping it with something that had a horrible roof. But how do you really know that it's horrible? It may not look as good, but that's an expectation. So some of these things you just know you're going to have.
What about a tile roof versus a comp roof?
I don't adjust any differently.
No differently?
No.
Okay.
Mm-mm.
And people get hung up on features. How many times, I've had 2 in the last couple of years that have had heated floors that they think, and they were expensive, but it adds nothing.
It makes a buyer like it. If you have like properties and they're priced similarly, and this one has heated floors, the buyer's probably gonna go to that one. They're gonna choose that one. But I'm not gonna add value for heated floors. Again, it's cannibalizing it and going through item by item. How much do you adjust, Chris, for condition? Like if one is kind of like really clean, not a total, not like a flip, but just in general, nicer.
So typically what I'll do is I just imagine through the mind of a buyer. I'm looking at this property. If everything's like the same, except this one's all original, like white tile countertops and linoleum in the bathrooms, and the
Right.
other one's like fully remodeled or something, I'll look at what the fully remodeled one's going for, and it depends. So if you're a bigger house in a high price point, you're gonna make that adjustment bigger. So if it's an $800,000 house, I'll probably adjust $40,000.
So like 5%, something like that.
Yeah, and then if it's based on what I'm looking at with the overall comps, and so like this is what I'll do too, is without that, if I have a range between houses, I try to pull as much as possible. If I have a range, and I know, and I'm trying to figure out where's mine going to come in at that. Sometimes you'll feel good about yours. You'll be like, man, this is where it's at, but I'm feeling really good about it. You'll go towards the higher end of your
Right.
range.
Right.
Or if it's like, okay, this is where the range is at, but mine needs a little bit of TLC. Like there's a couple, doesn't really have the wow factor. I'll come in on the
So you
lower
gotta,
end.
and then that's where your common sense comes in. And you can use comps and you can use actives for that when you're bracketing.
Right.
So what I do now is I take a look at what price range. If I'm at 350, like if I think the value is 350, I'll look at everything from 350 to 370, and I'll compare my property and see how it compares with those. If all of those properties between 350 and 370 are better than mine, I know I'm on the low end of that totem pole. You know, there's only going to be so many sales. Is mine going to be one of them? But if I go between, say, 330 and 350, I price mine at 349, but I'm way better than all of those properties. You're going to be the one that gets picked. You know, we all go to the dance. You want to get picked, asked to dance, right? That's the one that's going to happen. If you are the top, if you are the worst in your bracket, you're going to have a problem. If you are the best in your bracket, that's when it's going to go. I do not adjust for lots unless it's a lot. I mean, because appraisers don't adjust for city lots. Maybe acreage out in the, but again, it's just kind of common sense. So step one, you're going to search parameters and try and stay, the tighter you can do the parameters, the better. If you can be within the same subdivision, great. If you can't, maybe within a half a mile. If that doesn't work, go a mile. Try and stay within 90 days. I know we go 60, 6 months, but in this kind of a market, that may not be, that may not be accurate.
Let me ask you a question. If you have
An oddball property.
that there's nothing like it, would you rather expand the zone or would you rather go further out as your first instinct?
I do both. So I will start like what Jim's saying is I've got a comp and I can't find anything. So it depends it kind of depends what the market is like. If the market's been pretty stable, I'll go back further, right? I'll go back a year. If the market has not, I'll go out further. I will sometimes start looking at different cities for oddball properties,
Country properties, you can go countywide.
you can go countywide because an appraiser will.
Don't start there.
No, but use your common sense. If it is in a really nice area of Visalia or a beautiful area of Exeter,
You're not doing popular.
don't comp Terabella with that. It's not going to be the same. So, but you can always look at it and say, this house is similar, it's sold, but our area is better. So we know we're worth more, right? This one's in a better area. Ours is substandard. We know we're worth less. That's how you start working those brackets in. And so try and match square footage as much as you can. You can't get, I go within 200 square feet, one way or the other. If you go too much, then you're gonna have to do huge adjustments, and you do not adjust. Okay, this is a big, big rule that agents do not understand. If a house is selling for $200 a square foot, and you have a comp that is 200 square feet bigger, you do not adjust 200 square feet by $200 a square foot. You adjust by $65 a square foot. And I know you're thinking, why? It's because with homes, there's typically one kitchen. You know, you can adjust for bathrooms. You can adjust for bedrooms. You can adjust for extra garages. But typically, the most expensive part of the house is going to be the kitchen. So when your additional square footage is typically living space, and it's $65 a square foot. So do not go in, and you'll get a seller. They get their pencil out and they're like, yeah, that one sold for, and it was this much per square foot, and mine is this much bigger. That puts mine at that. Nope, wrong. That's not how you do it. So, and they don't understand that. Be careful with distress sales. Really look at the comps that you're pulling, because if you pull something that was an REO, a foreclosure, sold as is, read the description, look at the pictures, and use your common sense when it comes to that. Again, adjustments. Try and get as similar as you can, and then adjust. I know a bedroom is like what's a bedroom? 5,000. An extra bay of a garage, 5,000. So if one property has a garage and the other one doesn't, that's going to be it. It's a 2-car garage. It's $10,000 deduction. I think a big adjustment is no central heat and air. I adjust for that because in this area, people are going to burn their butts off with a swamp cooler, and it's not as appealing. So I would adjust probably 10 to 15,000, even though a new AC system could be 10 to 20, depending on if you have to put ductwork in. I'd give it like 10.
Do you adjust for public sewer versus septic?
Nope. That's personal preference.
Right.
I adjust for pools, 10 grand. If a backyard is spectacular, maybe 15. Maybe, and I mean spectacular.
And it depends on the house size and price point of the house too.
That's right.
So if you're selling $1 million house, that pool is worth 40.
It is, because people
$50,000.
expect that with $1 million house.
And then if you're like a really low end piece of crap house, meaning it needs a lot of work, and it's 1,200 square feet, 1,100 square feet, and then it's got a crappy pool in the back,
It's a turnoff.
nothing. You can almost give it negative value.
Yeah, and if pools need to be replastered, if the equipment is bad, it's a negative or it's a wash. I would give it 0 value, especially because it's going to get called by an appraiser. If the pool's green and it's a mess, it's going to be a problem. So
This is the other thing too I want to say before we get too far. So what you're saying about going out further or going back in time.
Mm-hmm.
So if Westwood Estates, for example, okay.
Yep.
If you do a half-mile radius with Westwood Estates, you're gonna pull all those houses. You're gonna pull a bunch of houses on the other side. Do not use those as comps for Westwood Estates. Go back far. You can go back 2 years, but adjust for that time too.
Yeah, you can
So-
adjust for time.
So you can look at the market and see what the increase was last year. What percentage did the homes go appreciate last year? Make that adjustment.
Yeah, just times it by that. You can get that off a chat. It'll tell
Exactly.
you.
That's exactly
It'll tell
right.
you. That's smart, because when it's area sensitive like that,
Mm-hmm.
it's super important that you go further back in time, not area. And then I try and use similar neighborhoods like Carmelita. I love Carmelita, and I compare that to Crestview. You know, that nice Crestview off of Morton. Like, I think those two streets are kind of similar in feel. Scenic used to be kind of, but not as much anymore. Like, you gotta really look at the trends and kind of know what's going on in the neighborhoods. It helps you to be able to know which neighborhoods you can use. Bracket your subject, like we talked about. Try and get one that's better, one that's not as good. That'll help you, because you've got to be able to sell it to the seller, right? You've got to be able to so confidently go through this. I bring the sheets and I say, I use this one, it sold for this. I know Chris does this. We'll write our adjustments on there. This one has this, I adjust it. That brings, based on this one, your house is worth $350. Based on this one, it's this. I feel like this is the best comp for you, and that's what an appraiser does. They pull the best, they do all their comps, but they weight it heavily with the one they feel is the closest. And that's how they weight that's how appraisers do it. You can share the range, but come up with a price. Because if you give them a range, like,
They're gonna go tall.
they're always gonna go the high end of it. If you say, 420 to 440, they're gonna be like, yeah, 440, that's all they hear. So you might give them a range based on those comps, but then say, but this is where I feel you need to be, based on what the active listings are. And this is why. So the second part of this is knowing the market condition. So absorption rate is a term that we don't use a whole lot, but we need to understand it. So if you take the active listings divided by the monthly closings, that equals your months of supply. Okay?
Can you run that by me?
Active listings divided by monthly closings. So if you have 100 active listings and there were 10 monthly closings, you've got 10 months supply. It's a buyer's market. Anything over 6 is a buyer's market. Anything under 3 is a seller. Between 3 and 6, it's kind of a neutral, more of a neutral market. But if there is less than 3 months inventory, it's definitely a seller's market. And bring that into your value, because if it's a seller's market, that's when we start getting multiple offers. It doesn't mean they want to price it super high. It doesn't help, but it will mean that you have more of a chance of multiple offers if you do that.
And then the other thing you can do too is if they're at a price point where new construction is in the same price point, that's another thing it's a tool in your tool bag to where if this person's trying to go high, okay, and they're really close or at or above what you can get a new construction for, it makes your argument so much easier. Look, you're wanting to sell for this price. You know that they can go get new construction, get $20,000 incentives, buy their rate down, do all this stuff, and have
All
a brand
new
new
plans,
house,
all new
all new
everything.
everything.
Right.
So we don't, and then you can just tell them we don't want to compete with that.
No.
It's different if you have something that is comparable, that is newer, and it's got a pool and it's landscaped in the back and blah 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 blah. Okay, you can but that goes back to looking at the actives.
And that is a factor right now. And we've been doing it a lot on the huddle. I know Angelique was talking a lot about that blue house. Remember, I don't know if anybody was on the huddle, but the blue house, the dreaded blue house that poor Angelique had. And it was blue. And, but they had 2 problems. It was blue, right? And all they saw was money because nobody liked it. And all they saw was, oh, money, I got to paint this, I got to pay somebody, or I've got to do it. So either work or money, right? And they were competing in a price range where the new construction was, and the incentives were crazy what they were giving. It's hard to compete. Hopefully you've got to find a buyer that, like, this is me. I'm a buyer who likes personality in a house. I do not like new construction. I sell them. It's not I don't like them. That's not my preference. I like something with some personality. I want blinds in my house. I want a pool already in my house when I buy. If they are looking for that kind of thing, new construction is not going to be for them. But bear in mind, a big, huge portion of the buyers are easily swayed to new construction. So you've got to look at that when you're pricing your property. And you've got to be real. So it's important to know the new home market as well, so you can speak intelligently with your sellers on that, especially if they're just a few years old, right? If they're if they're in the 50s, 60s, they're mid-century, it's totally different. But what if they were built in 2010 and they're still, and then you can go over here, if it's kind of the same, or 2015, but you get all these incentives. The only thing too is the lots are a lot smaller, usually, but not always. Some of them have some bigger lots. Days on market. So watch your days on market, average days on market. If it's rising, it's a pricing warning. If days on market are falling, it means the demand is outpacing supply. So it's important to know all these, the days on market, your absorption rate, list to sale ratio. How many properties are listed and get the percentage of what are selling. If the ratio is 98%, homes are getting close to asking price. If it's 94%, there's negotiation room. So use all of those things. You have to understand the market to be able to value. You've got to look beyond just that house. You've got to understand the market that you're in to be effective when you are pricing homes. Let's talk about appraisal versus agent pricing. Okay. Appraisers are looking backwards. Okay. They are, what we're talking about, how we price, they can't do that. They're not looking forward. They cannot be creative. They cannot, they have to, so when an appraiser makes an adjustment, they have to justify that adjustment. They have to,
And they're scored on it.
and they're scored on it. So it's not like it's well, it was in the Wild West before the crash. They were doing whatever, adjusting, high, low, that all went away. And they are really watched. Appraisers are not out to not make value. Agents think that some of these, they're really not. Their goal is not to not make value. Their goal is to make value. They don't want calls from pissed off agents. They want to make value. They do the best they can. But sometimes it's just not there. And as agents, that's another reason that you've got to understand what an appraiser does and be able to justify that to, if you come in and justify price as an appraiser to a seller and then they price high and somehow they, by the luck of, whatever, they get an offer and you think it's not going to appraise, you can say to them, we need to be careful because I think this may not appraise. And then you can show them why when it doesn't. That it's an easier, like, hey, we can put this back on the market, but it's probably going to appraise the same way. You've got to be able to read an appraisal and know that it's good or bad. Look at the adjustments. Does this make sense? Was there a better comp to use? Maybe not. So they look back.
Can you talk about once an appraisal's been done, and let's say the deal falls apart, that appraisal sort of becoming history and being a tool for the next? Or no?
It can, if it's FHA. But there is a way that with FHA they can even cancel that appraisal. But most lenders don't. They don't. They're lazy. They don't go through the process. It can be canceled. But the problem is, so if it does stick for 6 months, you're stuck with it anyway. Conventional, no.
6 months?
Oh yeah.
I thought it was 90 days.
No, I think it's 6 months. But
So that's why it's in a seller's interest to
it is.
adjust now rather than 5
And
months from now.
and not only that, you're probably going to get the same stupid appraisal again the next time it goes into escrow. If you look at that appraisal and it looks good, it doesn't look crazy, and when you're trying to argue with an appraiser, good luck. It's hard. And I have gotten adjustment once, and I found a better comp than what they used. That is really the only way that you're probably going to get an adjustment on an appraisal. If you find a comp that is better, and it's worth looking, and you can tell your sellers you're going to try, but the chances of that happening are very, very slim. Probably 1 in 1,000 that they ever make an adjustment. And when a lender gets an appraisal, they put it through a review. Yeah, they put it through a review. And there's a whole software program they have for it, because the lender's looking to see if this looks like a valid appraisal. So an appraiser could make some wild adjustments, it's going to get kicked back. And I think the other way too, if it looked bad the other way, that might kick it back as well. So we can look at pending sales. If there is a pending, call the listing agent, ask them, did you get close to did you get full price? I'm using it for a comp. Always start out with that. Hey, I saw your listing on, what offer, what price did your seller accept? I'm using it for a comp. They'll tell you. Very rarely will they not. And then I'll ask them, was there anything great or was it bad? Or what do you think, and they'll tell you, did you have a lot of offers? Did you have multiple offers? So you can kind of justify what's happening with that. But use pendings. So price forward, but remember appraisers look back. It's not as tricky right now because things are appraising, but in a really highly appreciating market, that's when it gets tricky because appraisers are looking back and we're looking forward. So we're pricing here and they're here. But that's when all the appraisal gaps came into play and when we had multiple offers. So we're not in that market right now. Buyer perception. So a Zestimate also comes into play with a buyer because a buyer will go and look at a Zestimate and they will say, oh, it's worth $350 and maybe we've got it priced at $370 and the buyer, or it's priced at $370 and then the buyer says, oh, I'm only paying $350 for that house because that's all it's worth. Well, you have to be able to also justify a price for a buyer, not just a seller. Like, no, it is worth that price. And buyers will ask me, do you think this is priced properly? I don't do a market analysis on every house that I show. And if they love it and they want to make the offer, I still don't do a market analysis on it. Like, make your offer. Let's do it. Your loophole is that's your safety net is the appraisal. But if they ask me, what do you think about this one? And you do a market analysis. And if they are saying, oh, you know, the Zestimate says, so we're not offering more than that. But this is interesting. I found this, and this is on Zillow's own page. The median error for Zillow is 6.9%.
Jeez.
So think about that. 6.9% on that's a lot of money. That's a big swing one way or the other. That it could be off for either a buyer or a seller.
$5 million home is 35 grand.
Yeah, exactly. That's 35 grand. That's right. Make sure that you understand and you can explain to sellers how Zillow pulls their info, because there's no interiors. They don't go into houses, right? Zillow, they don't. It's all algorithms. They're not seeing the inside of the house. Is it on a busy road? Is it on a cul-de-sac? They don't adjust. Is it like what we're talking about with Westwood Estates, and right on the back of Westwood Estates, it's those other houses. They could bring that into it. So you have to understand that a Zestimate is just an AI. It's just looking at something. It's not adjusting for granite versus, it doesn't adjust for pools. I don't even know that it adjusts. It might for bedrooms, bathrooms. It might. If it pulls it off the county records, it might. Probably. But it does not look at the house. There's nothing like that. So you've got to explain to sellers, it's a conversation starter. It is not, don't go by that. You're going to have bad info. Very, very bad info. It's almost like when you go to Carvana and you know they make a bid. You know how you put all your specs in on the car and they haven't seen it, and then they've got to come and look at it to give you that final price? Well, we're the final price. We're that adjuster for Carvana, right? We're going to be the ones. And you've got to understand how to comp so confidently that sellers, you've got to be confident because they will argue with you, but you've got to be able to justify where you think it's got to be. And if you're not confident and if you're wishy-washy with it, they're going to run right over you and you're not going to be able to get that pricing that you want. Let's see. So we talked about CMA, absorption rate, pending sales. I think we've talked about just about everything. Solar, yes, solar. Ugh. So if it has solar, if it is owned, it's a positive. If it's paid off, it is an adjustment, a positive adjustment. If it is owned and they owe $30,000 on a $35,000 system, that is not a positive adjustment. If it is going to be paid off through escrow, it is a positive adjustment. But if it's a $30,000 system, it's kind of like a pool, they get 10 grand. That's about what an appraiser gives them. If it is leased, I don't adjust either way for a lease. Even though if it's a crummy lease, it's gonna hurt you. right? All those, so knowing your market, knowing those things helps, because when you go up to Springville, I don't adjust because water is high in Springville and so is insurance. I do not adjust. However, the comps are showing it, right? The comps are showing that, because I used to use like Country, Northwest Porterville with Springville. I don't do that anymore because Springville is so high for the insurance.
Yep.
So you can't. So you've really got to use those comps in Springville because the market is hurting up there because of high insurance rates, water. It's just not, it's tough. So know the market. And if you guys need help on comping property, call me. I will help you. I'll tell you, give me what, this is how I like to do it. Like, I'll let you try and do it, right? And then you give me the address and let me do it. And then let's talk about where we were at. Because again, I don't want to know your value because then I'll try and justify your value. And I don't want you to know my value because you're going to do the same. And it's okay if it's wrong because I'm used to dealing with sellers and I can deal with agents and I'll tell you you're wrong. And I'll show you why you're wrong. But if you need that extra layer of somebody to look at it, call me. I will do that. We'll go over it because I want you to confidently go out to listing appointments and be able to talk to sellers and get these properties priced so they sell and you have happy sellers, happy sellers, and less problems when you're going through escrow.
One other thing with solar, this is really, really important for everybody to do. If you know that somebody has solar, if they say it's a lease, a prepaid lease, PPA, whatever the case is, always find out what the payoff is.
Yep.
Because if the payoff is $10,000 or $15,000, anytime that there's a payment with solar, the appraisers don't do it, but I always adjust down. I always go to the lower end because I have found, it's been my experience, that anytime, I mean, I have buyers that the moment that they see that there's a lease or something they have to take over on the solar, next, they won't even look at it. I have a lot of buyers that won't even look at a home that has a payment. So
I would go to the lower bracket. If
yes.
I would too.
Mm-hmm.
I would too. Even though they'll say, oh, there's no true up. I think that because there have been so many horrible solar systems installed, they have PTSD over it. So buyers are like, don't want it. Nope, don't want solar. I mean, when I show a house and it doesn't have solar, yes, doesn't have solar. And I'll tell them, no solar. And unless it's owned. But then the seller also has to understand you're not going to crank it way up because you have, unfortunately, you bought the solar. Yeah, you paid whatever they charged you for it, 30, 40,000, and guess who's going to benefit? The buyer, not you, the buyer.
I have a question on that. So
What's that, Sean?
the new construction.
Yep.
The new construction, they have to have some sort of solar, right?
Yep.
So a lot of people will go with the minimum.
Yep.
Now, do they bring that into the price, or is that a separate? Is that a
depends
separate
per
thing?
neighborhood,
It
per
just
neighborhood.
depends per
No,
neighborhood.
it depends on what, because they'll give you two options, right? Well, I know San
That's
Joaquin.
what I'm
They'll
trying to
give you
find
they'll
out.
give you two options. They'll let you buy it out and then they'll add it to the price,
Okay.
or do the lease. It's stupid to do the lease.
Yeah, it's stupid to do.
Because
lease,
if you
I
do the
got
lease, your payment's going to be roughly about the same, give or take $20. But when you add it to the price,
Yeah.
now your home's value
Now
is
you're
worth
owned it.
an extra 10.
Yeah.
Right. And when you go to sell the house, it's
Easier. It's
easier.
incorporated
Nobody has
into
to
the loan.
assume the
Yeah.
lease because it's already.
And I would say if you guys have somebody that has solar and there's a payment on it, if that payoff is $20,000 or below, you take a hard look at paying that sucker off. Because you can get, depending on what the system is, obviously if you have a dinky little 12 panels on it and they owe $20,000, you're probably leaning towards not, probably the payment's pretty low and it's not going to affect too much the sale. But if it's a big house and they've got 30 panels and a battery and they owe $20,000, you can probably get 15 grand in value from that system, and that 5 grand is going to be more than made up for the reduction in price that you're going to sell that house for because it's got a solar payment to assume. So just imagine this exact same house. You put it on the market for $500,000, but there's a solar on it. Okay, so maybe you go a little bit lower on the price, or $500,000. We can pay the solar off. Now you have owned solar. Now go 510, 515.
Yeah.
And
Adjust.
at the worst case scenario, I mean, they're still going to be good Because, like I said, say they pay 15 grand and they get it at 515, and say you get an offer at 510, but it costs them 15 grand. If they didn't pay it off, you're probably like at 490, 495, 485 on the sale, because people don't like solar unless you're lucky and you do get full list price. But as realtors, we're trying to make this as smooth, easy, as uncomplicated as possible, and try to maximize the money in their pocket. And the odds are, if you can get that thing paid off, if the price is reasonable and it's close, if it's close, recommend that they pay it off.
Yeah.
They're going to make money on it, and your job's going to be way easier to sell it. You're going to look like a stud.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had
Because
somebody-
that's a benefit.
I had somebody recently that was trying to tout that, oh, I've got 8 years left on a prepaid lease. And I go, okay, what's the payoff? Well, don't I get value? It's a prepaid lease. They don't have to pay anything for the next 8 years. Yeah, what's the payoff on it? The payoff was like 10 grand or something like that on a big house. I said, look, I get it. Yeah, but it's going to void the warranty if we pay it off. Okay, I get it. So you can give that in escrow. You can give that to them as an option, but this is going to detour people, believe it or not. If it does anything at all, they're not going to be like, oh, yay, prepaid lease. No, they're going to be way more excited about owned solar. You putting owned solar with the house, I promise you, it's going to be better. You're going to make more money. The chances of you not making more money are very low, and I want to put the odds in your favor. Pay it off. So don't even market a prepaid lease. Don't even market it straight from the get-go. Owned solar.
Well, and you got to find out how much they owe.
If you find out, yeah, exactly. You have to know if they owe more than $20,000. It's probably. I mean, for me, even at 20, I'll still look at it. If it's a bigger system and it's a bigger house, I'll look at it and say, look, it's still probably in your favor, because if it's going to cost you $20,000, if you get 10 to 15, how much less are you going to have to sell it for with somebody doing it? It's going to be more than the difference, almost always, even at 20.
Yeah.
But that's a huge thing. So if you have the option, if you just go into it, oh, it's just, what's the payment? Okay. And you don't even check what the payoff is, you're not doing a good job. You're really not. And you're making it harder for yourself. It ain't that difficult. Find out it's a lease or it's a PPA. They don't even have a payoff. Yeah, they do. I've never come across one that didn't have a payoff option.
Yeah. So that is good.
Hey, Chris, JP here. Have you ever, if they wanted to pay it off, but they didn't have the money, have you run into any creative ways to do that through escrow?
That's how it's always done, is through escrow.
The payoff?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. They'll get escrow will get a payoff. I mean, your client can call and get a payoff quote, but the escrow will get the payoff demand on it, and it'll all be done through escrow. At close, they'll send a check off to them.
Oh, at closing. Okay. Yeah, just in case the escrow didn't close.
Right. Does anybody have any questions about comping, value, Zillow, anything we talked about today? Anybody have any questions that we need to clarify? No? And this is the other thing, guys. I'm looking for ideas for trainings. I'm open. If you guys want, Jim actually was the one who said you got to do a training on value. So that's how I did this. I'm open to suggestions. Like, let me know what you guys want
To
training
me,
on.
this is a very important first step. But what might be harder is, now that you have value, you've discussed it, now setting pricing and talking people into pricing strategies, come in low and generating interest, or these people that always want to start high and trickle down, and the problems that creates. We've had those conversations a lot too.
Yeah, just Jim's talking about, how I try and get my people to try to, it's a very simple conversation for me. I just say, I have had the best luck when we value it right about where we think it's going to appraise, or a little bit less. And so I had one the other day that we had a offer, and we were a little bit stuck on whether they were going to accept this offer or not. So what I did was I went in on the MLS and I found in this price range how many homes sold, and this was at the coast, okay? So I went in on the coast and I found out it was listed for 2.5. And I went in and I did a search of active listings between 2 million and 3 million in Arroyo Grande. And there were 16, okay? So then I went back 30 days and I looked to see how many homes had sold between 2 million and 3 million in Arroyo Grande, and it was 1. So you have 16 people that you are competing with, and 1 is going to sell a month, and 1 sold the month before. Guess what? We took the offer because they realized, you know, it's you've got to you've got to get very analytical about it and look, like, see how many in this price range have sold. And that's good data to bring to a seller. Like, look, I mean, we're not dealing with millions over here. Even if it was between 5 and 550, you know, there are 10 active listings in Visalia or 20 active listings. Last month, 2 sold. It puts it in perspective for them. Are you going to be the one that gets picked, one of the two, or are you going to be sitting here waiting? And keep in mind, Mr. Seller, that yes, 2 go into escrow, but then how many more are being listed? It's not like you're working off that pool and once it's empty, it gets replenished, right?
And things change, interest rates could go up.
Exactly. They've got to really look at what the competition is more than ever. I never used to really do it that much, but now I weight that heavier than, and when you're looking at actives and what your competition is, look at how long they've been on the market. Because if there's one priced up here and it's been on the market for 120 days, obviously it's overpriced. That's not even a good comp as a active, right? So you want to get through those and look at those things. But look at the actives, know the market, understand solar, understand how we adjust. It's okay, call me, ask me, how much do we adjust for a pool? How much for a bedroom? How much for a bathroom? I'll help you. Every appraiser is going to be a little bit different, but it's pretty typical.
Everybody too, all of you guys, everybody should have at least 2 appraisers on speed dial that you can pick their brain. Because something's going to pop up. A shop. Okay, shop pop. This one's got a really unique shop. It's badass metal building. It's got its nice foundation, tall, big roll-up doors. It's huge. How in the hell are you gonna give? You gonna give 20,000 for that? You need to find somebody.
I have one of those, so I'm glad you said that. I have just what
Yeah.
you said.
Okay, so I call up
You
2.
call them. Okay.
Two of them. I'll message them, call them, and I'll say, hey, so this is what I got.
How much you giving for this?
What are you giving for this? How are you calculating this? And then, but if that, I have to get 2 opinions because you don't want the one guy who does something a little bit differently and it works for him. But that's not the most common way that they do it. You know what I mean? Like, you want to get 2 perspectives on it, get an idea, and then look at the overall picture of what you have, you know, like, and how does that fit into that box? If you have, if you know, they're being a little bit aggressive on it. Most of the time when they say that, they're going to also give you some gray information. They're going to say, well, it depends, you know, if it's really nice and, it, you know, if it's a higher price home and blah, 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 like, you're going to get more value in certain situations. This exact same shop is worth more on a specific property than some other properties. So
The easier way to go is to find a house with a shop that's similar and adjust for the house, right? That's the easier way to go, is try to. But if you can't, like Chris said, I've called George Kreitz a lot. Like, hey, how much do you give for this? And they're usually, I mean, I don't keep him on the phone for an hour. I just want a little bit of info, or I'll text him, how much do you give for this? What do you think for this? He'll tell you. They're pretty helpful. Okay, guys, I hope that was helpful. Any other last going once, going twice? Any questions?
I have a suggestion for another training.
Oh, what is it?
Automation. All the different ways to utilize automations, which automations you should do, meaning your campaigns, the different things with all this technology and all the tools that we have here at Downtown Realty. Focus on all the different things that in your business you can do to set up on the automation, whether it's the home estimates, the marketing campaigns, whether it's other marketing things, like all the different automated
That's a good
things.
We
idea.
got a workshop where we all bring our laptops and we have a couple hours to spread out and have someone just work on things.
It'd be fun to do that too.
But even if we
Good
could just
ideas.
get in here and take notes on every single thing that you can automate and just write it all down, and then at least everybody can walk away with
Something,
a list of
even if
some
you only
things
do
to
one
get-
thing, it's better than nothing. If you guys come up with trainings, text me, just tell me, or put it in downtown in the note, just text me. And we'll work them in.
I think you had put out something on Facebook one time. You were looking for a contractor or a painter or something like that. Me being a new agent, I would like to have some numbers, like two. I'm gonna try to get 2 of those numbers from you for the appraisers, just so I can have somebody to, call.
And when you need things like that too, put it in downtown in the know. That's the best place to do it. Just go in and just ask, hey, I need appraiser's phone numbers. Does anybody have them? They'll tell you.
And most of the time, you don't want to call those guys anyways, unless you're like real good buddies with them or something like that. Text them because they're busy
Yeah.
most of the time. So just text them, hey, I need for this, how do you adjust them for that? When they get time, they'll get.
Okay, cool.
Perfect. All right. See everybody tomorrow.
What's tomorrow?